Welcome back. The Supreme Court weighing a major case involving Idaho's near total ban on abortion. At the center of the arguments, a federal law known as EMTALA, which requires hospitals receiving federal funds to stabilize patients facing an emergency medical condition.
Everyone understands that licensing laws limit medical practice. That's why a nurse isn't available to perform open heart surgery, no matter the need, no matter her knowledge. The answer doesn't change just because we're talking about abortion. The court should reject the administration's unlimited reading of EMTALA and reverse the district court's judgment.
If a woman comes to an emergency room facing a grave threat to her health, but she isn't yet facing death, doctors either have to delay treatment and allow her condition to materially deteriorate, or they're airlifting her out of the state so she can get the emergency care that she needs. One hospital system in Idaho says that right now it's having to transfer pregnant women in medical crisis out of the state about once every other week. That's untenable, and EMTALA does not countenance it.
Our friend CBS News legal correspondent Jan Crawford is outside the Supreme Court. Jan, great to see you. The Supreme Court justices appear divided today over this issue. What more can you tell us?
Well, first of all, it's a little windy here, so bear with me, Bob. But I mean, it was a fascinating argument. They were sharply divided. I mean, you had three liberal justices who were really giving real-life examples of women who they say have been denied potentially life-saving or certainly health-saving care because of laws similar to the one that we see in Idaho, which is, as you mentioned, a near-total ban. It allows abortion only to save a woman's life or in cases of rape or incest, but it doesn't have that exception if the woman's health is at risk. So the Biden administration had come into this case and sued Idaho, saying, wait a minute, there's this federal law that you mentioned, EMTALA, and that trumps the Idaho law. That should override that because the federal law requires hospitals that get federal funding to provide that necessarily stabilizing treatment, which could include abortions if that was necessary to protect the woman's health. So they're saying that that federal law is a way to then kind of expand abortion access in Idaho. Now, it was a mixed reception, and it was a really difficult argument to read from the conservatives, because obviously there's 6 conservatives. They kind of carry the day here. And you did see, some of them, like Justice Coney Barrett, asking pretty pointed questions of the first lawyer. You rolled sound bites from his presentation about how this actually operated in practice. It suggested maybe she might be a little sympathetic to what the liberal justices were saying, but then later in the argument, she was really raising questions that suggested that she may be with the conservatives on this issue, as was Justice Kavanaugh. Very hard to read. So this is one I think that we're going to have to wait probably till the very end of June to see how the court is going to resolve this issue of pretty significant implications for other laws across the country.
Jan, could you dig a little bit deeper into that implications issue? What are the national implications in your assessment?
So it really would affect states like Idaho that have these kind of near total bans. There's 6 other states like Idaho, or another 15 or so that have pretty restrictive bans. Because if the court agrees with the Biden administration and says this federal law is going to override everything, and so hospitals are going to have to provide more abortions than the state laws may have allowed, that's going to significantly undermine those laws that, of course, were passed in the wake of the Supreme Court's decision 2 years ago in Dobbs, which overturned Roe versus Wade and sent the issue back to the states. This would mean that there is still a federal role, a federal law that could come into play and expand abortion access in some of those states that now are greatly restricting it. And that's what the Idaho Attorney General and officials in Idaho are saying that this case is really all about, that the Biden administration is trying to find a backdoor way to expand abortion access by pointing to this law that was passed in 1986, signed by President Reagan, to ensure that hospitals couldn't turn people away in emergencies if they couldn't pay for care. So they're saying that's not what this law was all about, and you can't shoehorn it in to try to expand abortion access.
Jan Crawford at the Supreme Court, thank you so much. We appreciate it.